Alrighty, so we got one more game to finish up match week number 34, and just like last weekend where I did the first part of the review before the last game, finish up that match week. Gonna do the same thing this week as well. We're gonna look at the first 8 games, and then after the game between the Union and DC United is finished, I'm gonna review that game individually since it's the lone Sunday game. And then tomorrow I'll be finish up doing the review of the last 5 game to finish up the review of match week number 34. With that being said, let us get started, and we're gonna start with the matinee game. And unfortunately, I was gonna do the review of the matinee games, but unfortunately, I wasn't able to do it since I have to do a little bit of a ground hop after that. But yeah, in the first game of the matinee game, which is NYCFC versus Inter Miami, and yeah, it looked like this was a typical game where Inter Miami able to capitalize because their opposition wasn't being very clinical in terms of the finishing. But then late in this game, something happened that we have not seen Miami do very often this season, which is giving up a late lead and giving up a late goal to draw points. Now, in the first half, the first shot of the game did see Messi puts it wide from close range, and in the post, denied Rodriguez from close. I thought it was a lively start to this game with both of these teams getting some good chances. By the way, there was about like 47,000 attended this game. I think they said it's a sold out crowd, even though it's not the biggest crowd at Yankee Stadium, which is kind of surprising because you would expect this is supposed to be the biggest crowd. I think the biggest crowd was still that New York Derby back in 2015, where I think like 50,000 showed up in that game. So again, I don't blame the fact that maybe some tickets weren't sold because I imagine it's going to be very expensive to actually attend this game, and it's even more expensive the fact that this game is happening in New York. But the shots were 2-1 early in this one. Freeze almost dropped the ball from the cross from the corner. So yeah, Matt Freeze still has that goalkeeping yips that he got in the last game. He definitely had his worst game as an NYCFC goalkeeper, and partially because he was probably being a double agent trying to help his former team, the Union. But yeah, he was a little shaky early in this one. Suarez then had a shot that hits off of his own teammate Taylor, who was in an offside position. So yeah, that's kind of one of those unfortunate one where not only your shot is hit off of your own teammate, but to make it a double whammy, that teammate of yours that blocked your own shot was in an offside position. But there was no doubt that Miami started to press for the opener goal. Though, as I said, that Morales would hit one right to counter, and then we go for a period where not much really happened for the rest of the first half, and we do head to halftime scoreless between both of these teams. In the second half, Parks would miss wide from close before Martinez puts it wide from long range. NYCFC, I thought they would have been the better side early on, but you kind of had a sense that these missed chances, is it going to come back to haunt them? Because how many times I've said, when you are giving chances to score against Inter Miami, you have to score that. They're a team that is known to be very clinical in front of goal. Parks would then heads it wide from close range. The shots were 8-4 now in favor of NYCFC, but still only one shot on goal so far. Neither of these goalkeeper really kind of getting tested in this one. Wolf then missed wide in the near post before he hits one right to counter 1 minute later. Again, you kind of had it sense that these chances is going to come back to haunt CFC because again they're getting some good chances but not putting it away, and you kind of also realize that yeah, Miami's eventually going to score it, aren't they, right? And then we then get some coming together as Messi and Martinez going to have some choice words with each other. Something tells me it's not that if Martinez want a jersey of Messi after the game. And again, this game started to become a little bit physical, and this is when one of the assistants for Inter Miami, he was definitely barking at the referee, and he didn't stop barking even when he got a yellow card. So he got a double yellow card there and got sent off as a result of that. We've seen this happen more often than it used to be, and I think that a lot of that has to do with the fact that now head coaches and assistant can actually get yellow card for dissent as well. And ever since they had that rule in place, you've seen that there's been more of these incidents where somebody on the bench, if they're very unsatisfied with the referee, you got to be careful what you say because you can get yourself booked as well just because you're on the bench or you're not even a head coach as well. And then the ref really started to become Oprah. I mean, he basically was giving out yellow cards left and right. It's like, you have a yellow card. You have a yellow card. Everybody have a yellow card. But in the 75th minute, yeah, we saw this coming. As Leo Campana would score from Alba and Messi give Miami a 1-0 lead. You knew eventually Miami was going to score one with how wasteful NYCFC was. Rodriguez looks to respond, but he missed a sitter that goes high. I mean, that play just kind of sums up NYCFC Day, not being clinical in front of goal. Morales actually had a shot that took a deflection and goes wide. And as we wind down to the end of the game, you think, well, Miami's got 3 points in the bag, right? However, in the fifth minute stoppage time, James Sands, for the first time in his career, scores a goal here for Morales to tie the game up at one apiece. It's hard to believe he has not scored a goal for NYCFC, even doing all his time. I mean, I know he's a defender, but even as a defender, you would assume that he might have scored one or two goal in his career. But that's his first career MLS goal, and what a time to do it in front of a sold out crowd and kind of spoil the party for Messi and his friends in New York City. And also that's came off of a corner. Miami has definitely done better lately when it comes to defending corner. I remember in the beginning of the season they were giving up goals from the corner left and right, but here it seems like that early season syndrome come back to bite them. The Achilles heel strike again, not defending the corner well, and yeah, in the end, NYCFC they salvage point. They spoil Messi party in New York City here with a 1-1 draw. The shots in this one, 10 shots for the 7 that Miami has, 2 shots on York for the 4 that NYCFC had, 6 shots off target for the 1 that Miami has, 3 shots that was blocked for the 4 that NYCFC had, and possession wise, 47% possession compared to the 53% possession that Miami has in this game. So again, for Miami, I know they'll be disappointed that they draw points in this one, but they're still so far up in terms of the supporter shield race that unless if they continue to have these kind of moments and continue to drop games or even lose game, I think the supporter shield is there to lose. But for NYCFC, I mean, I guess this is a good response after that 5-1 drumming that they took against the Union. I mean, I know it's not a win, but anytime when you're able to get points against Inter Miami, whether you're at home or you're on the road, that's an extra bonus because not a lot of teams is able to get points this season off of Inter Miami, especially when Messi and friends is on the pitch this season. But that being said, moving on in the next match, it's Charlotte and the New England Revolution. So as I mentioned, but before, how so far I haven't really ruled out any Eastern Conference team that is in that playoff race because every time it feels like one team maybe literally they're heading the wrong direction there. They're done. They somehow how got to pull off a win out of nowhere and get themselves back in the race. But I think it's kind of safe to say that you maybe can put New England back in that conversation of the fact that it feels like they're done. And this performance kind of vindicate that as well against a Charlotte team that has really struggled to score goals and have not had a good run of form, and they gave up 4 goals against them. Now in the first half, Urso or he had the first shot of the game, but he missed wide on the header before Privet hits it wide from close range. Charlotte was definitely the better team early in this one as they were looking for the opener. Schwadersky puts one into the stands, and the first shot for the Revs saw Veroni puts it wide. Then Urso missed wide from close on the doorstep of goal. Charlotte was getting some prime opportunity, but as it's been the case throughout the season, the finishing has just not been there. And the question is, can they do so in this one? Kalina then denied Veroni on the doorstep of goal. There was then a huge shout for a penalty for New England. They feel like there should have been a handball in the box, and I gotta say, I think that should have been a handball. And safe to say that you can definitely hear Caleb Porter. He was definitely using some choice words toward the referee, just to kind of saying it kindly about that. And again, Caleb Porter, he has definitely not minced words when it comes to controversial refereeing decision, especially handball that is going against his team. And it's kind of sad the fact that it happened again, though. Again, even with this play, I mean, I don't think the outcome would have been different. But something tells me, yeah, Caleb Porter probably sound off again in the press conference about the referee decision, and probably another fine, and maybe even another suspension is on his way whatsoever. Abada then scuffed a shot in the front post. By the way, Apple TV tried their best to mute the mic, but it was pretty clear. There was definitely some explicit word that was picked up. Again, not a big surprise because that's just typical Caleb Porter. Not saying that of course is the right call. As I said, I don't think that was the right call. I think that should have been a handball. I forgot which Charlotte player that was, but his hand was just kind of outstretched as he slide down, and when you do that, that's a textbook handball there. But in the 39th minute, Abada would score here. So he scored here to give Charlotte a 1-0 lead. And then at halftime, this is when you start to see New England not only start to get frustrated, but you started to see something you don't usually see on the pitch, which is the same players from the same team clash with each other as Carlos Gil and Arriaga. They definitely had some choice words and were kind of doing some pushing and shoving. That just shows you how things have gone for New England. Things have not gone well for this team whatsoever. And while some might say that that's just kind of the passion that got the best of it, I mean, there's a reason why we usually don't see that happen. Usually, you might see that maybe in the locker room, but you don't usually see that on the pitch. And yeah, again, that was clear frustration that is shown. And Carlos Gil is not a guy that usually show that kind of emotion on the pitch. So you can clearly see he is frustrated, and I don't blame him because this Revs team, it looked like it's a sinking ship right now, lately. But we do head to halftime with Charlotte leading 1-0 in the second half. Ismail Baratovic would puts it wide in the near post before Arriaga hits it wide from close. I thought New England got on the front foot, and in some way, maybe that kind of fire up the Revs there because they desperately need to get a result in this game to keep themselves within the playoff race. Kalina then denied Veroni in the front post before Veroni puts it wide as the flag went up in the 55th minute. And then Ivasic absolutely robbed Urso from a point blank effort. It wouldn't have counted either way because the flag came up. Abada then puts it high from long range. Charlotte again looked like they were threatening on the break here. And this is not a big surprise because whenever they have a 1-0 lead, they're just going to try to pack it in and hit the opposition on the counter. And to no surprise, New England continued to try to push man forward, and that has lead a lot of space for Charlotte to exploit. And in fact, in the 65th minute, they were able to score the go ahead second goal as Pep Biel, first time in his career for Charlotte FC, scoring a goal, or as I say, the first career MLS goal that he has here from Ajiman to make it 2-0 in favor of Charlotte, and then it goes from bad to worse for New England as Barrero get himself sent off here. Just two yellow card for dissent here. You can clearly see the frustration that is going on with this New England team up to this point, and Charlotte wastes no time to capitalize on being a man up as Ajiman would score from Bio and Diani to make it 3-0 in favor of Charlotte. Pep Biel trying to make it 4-0, but he was denied by Ivasic. But eventually they do make it 4-0 in the 87th minute as Kervin Vargas would score from Tavares and Ajiman to make it 4-0 in favor of Charlotte, and that's the final score of this game. Just a rare dominant performance that Charlotte has put against their opposition. Now, again, some will say that they're playing against the worst team in the East, a team that is looks like they're in a sinking ship right now, but that's still impressive for a Charlotte team that has really struggled, and this is kind of the performance they desperately needed, consider how bad things have gone for the past month or two. But the shots in this one, 24 shots for the 18 that New England has, 4 shots on goal for the 9 that Charlotte has, 9 shots off target for the 5 that New England has, 8 shots was blocked for the 5 that Charlotte has, and possession-wise, 57% possession compared to 43% possession that Charlotte has in this game. And well, as I said before, I don't want to completely rule out even the worst team in the East in terms of them being in a playoff hunt because New England can somehow just pull off a win in the next game and give hopium once again to this team. It feels like they're heading the wrong direction, and I think we're also gonna have that discussion of is Caleb Porter maybe playing for his job as well. I mean, for the beginning of the season, it looked like he was potentially going to be fired, and they did had a good run of form when he was under the hot seat, but yeah, that didn't really last very long, and now it feels like he's under the hot seat again because this is a catastrophic failure. If New England not only does not make it to the playoffs, but to finish bottom of the Eastern Conference. Yes, I understand they've been dealing with injuries, but they get most of the players healthy now, and this is the team that they have is almost similar to the one that they had under Bruce Arena, which was doing very well. Yeah, again, Caleb Porter is going to be under a lot of heat, and would not be surprised if this team does not make it to playoffs or even finish dead last. That he could finally end up on the chopping block that probably should have been done back in June. Now, moving on in terms of the next match is Columbus and Orlando City, and I gotta say for Columbus, yeah, they definitely make this one a little bit unnecessarily interesting. And something tells me Wilfred Nancy, I mean, he'll be happy with this win, but he will not be happy the way that they almost gave this game away to Orlando City. Now, early on, for Holson, which struck the post, but it fall to Torres, but he was denied by Schulte, who just about saved that ball off the line. That ball almost creeped by Schulte there, but thankfully for him, he was able to smother it before it goes over the line. Maguire then puts it over from close range. Promising start for Orlando, and this was deemed to be a very big matchup because you have a Columbus team that they don't lose at home very often, but you're playing against one of the hottest team in the Eastern Conference, that is Orlando City. So no surprise, Orlando was definitely up for it in this one. And then the post would deny Arvston from close range before he would deny Schlegel on the other end in the 13th minute, and not even 15 minutes in, but we already see three posts that's being hit, and it's been kind of giving the Red Bulls versus Union game that we saw a couple of weeks ago a run for its money for the most posts that is hit. Now, in the end, there was actually only 4 posts that is being hit. It didn't reach the same mark as the game between the Red Bulls and the Union, but yeah, I mean, it feels like this was one of those games where there was like a magnet on the post where it feels like most shots when it's being hit, it's basically gonna hit the post. In the 28th minute, they then checked to see whether or not if there was a handball in the box committed by Orlando City. VAR says yes, but there was also an offside prior to the play there. So yeah, as a result, there was no penalty that was given to Orlando. Actually, did I say this was a potential penalty for Columbus? I'm sorry, I actually meant a potential penalty for Orlando. That is so. Yeah, Columbus got away with it because again, if it wasn't for that offside, that would have been a penalty for Orlando City, and that was huge too because just 2 minutes later, Columbus would take the lead. It's Diego Rossi. He scored from Ramirez and Farsi to give the Crew a 1-0 lead. It came off a deflection from close range. I mean, that's kind of the luck that Columbus is going to get because they've been so lethal in front of goal. Same goes for Diego Rossi as well, and they take a 1-0 lead as a result. Ramirez then looked for another, but he missed wide from close range. But we do head to halftime with Columbus leading 1-0. In the second half, they waste no time to make it 2-0, and this time it's Ramirez scoring from Arvston and Jackson to make it 2-0 in favor of Columbus. Jackson then looked for a third goal, but he missed wide. Before Cucho would put it wide from long range, Columbus was definitely feeling it, and this is bad news for Orlando because anytime when the Crew are feeling it, yeah, basically you better step out their way because they're going to score a couple more goals. And they eventually do get that third goal in the 71st minute. Who else but Cucho Hernandez? He scored from Arvston and Jackson to make it 3-0 in favor of Columbus. So yeah, this game is done, right? I mean, it looks like it's an easy 3 point for the Crew, right? However, in the 74th minute, Enrique would score to make it 3-1 in favor of Orlando City. Angulo actually hit the post, so this is the fourth time the game we saw a post that is being hit, but fortunately for Orlando, it falls right into the path of Enrique, puts it into the empty net to make it 3-1. And then a penalty was given this time to Orlando City as Yaboa brought down Angulo in the box. So here comes Luis Muriel, steps up to take the penalty, and he buries it. So now all of a sudden it's 3-2 in this game, a game that looked like it was all over just about 7 minutes ago after Columbus getting that third goal. It's now 3-2 in this one, and it could have been 3-3 if Ladero had a shot that was deflected and it actually was clear off the line and out there. I mean, that it was that close from just a complete implosion that we usually do not see that happen with the Columbus Crew. I even wrote, what has happened to Columbus? I mean, they have just kind of hit the self-destruction button in the last 7 minutes. Now, the good news for Columbus, eventually they do restore that 2 goal lead. And it's AZ Jackson. First goal for Columbus here. He scored from Cucho to make it 4-2 in favor of the Crew. And that also came off of a rare turnover from Daggerdent for Holston there. You usually do not see him cough up the ball in a bad spot like that. But Columbus wouldn't care. They made it 4-2 in this one. And that goal was huge for Columbus because in the 7 minute of stoppage time, Luis Moriel would score from Torres to make it 4-3 in this one. Not a great goal for Schulte to give up. I mean, this is one that Patrick Schulte would want to have back. I mean, yes, it did bounce on the ground there. Maybe that kind of caught Schulte off guard, but the caliber that Schulte has shown this season, you know that he would not only want that one back, but he absolutely could have saved that one. And again, he's probably thankful the fact that they have a 2 goal lead instead of just having that 1 goal lead heading late into this game. But yeah, in the end, Columbus pretty ugly win in the end. A game that looked like they were comfortable. They kind of had to be a little bit nervy. Had to hold on for a bit. 4-3 win is the result. The shots in this one, 12 shots compared to 13 that Orlando has. Both teams had 5 shots on goal. 4 shots off target compared to 1 that Orlando City has. 4 shots that was blocked compared to 1 that Columbus had. And possession-wise, 65% possession compared to 35% possession that Orlando has in this game. So yeah, for Columbus, again, as I said before, Wilfred Nancy will be happy that they got 3 points, but he will absolutely not be happy of the way they close out this game and almost let this there's this one slip. But for Orlando, I mean, to Orlando credit, they definitely show some fight in this game, and this is a game that kind of proved that yeah, they can definitely hang with the big boys. And there's no shame to losing to Columbus. Everybody lose to Columbus this season. Well, mostly everybody lose to Columbus. I mean, Columbus has been so good this season at home and really been unstoppable when Wilfred Nancy took over this team. But yeah, they got really fortunate that they almost let this one slip in the end. Now, moving on in terms of the next match is Montreal and Chicago. So, as I mentioned, when New England look like they're heading the wrong direction, maybe they're on their way of being done in their season. Unfortunately, you got to say the same thing about the Chicago Fire. So, yeah, that the September collapse is definitely wildly true in a way. But for Montreal, I mean, I said it before. It doesn't take much to get yourself above the red line. But the last couple of games, Montreal getting some resort that goes in the way. They got a 3-game unbeaten run, and now all of a sudden they sit above the red line as a resort. Now, in the first half, 2 minutes in, Martinez would heads it into the side netting before Saliba puts it over from long range. As I thought Montreal was on the front foot, they were looking for the opening goal, and they do. It's Joseph Martinez. He scored from Saliba to make it 1-0 in favor of Montreal. Just vintage Joseph there. I mean, just being a great poacher there in the right place, right time to hit this one off the volley there. And while that we haven't seen a lot of that in the post Atlanta United days of Joseph Martinez, great to see that of course is the case at times. And yeah, that gives Montreal a 1-0 lead. Duke did look for another one, but he missed wide in 36th minute. And we do head to halftime with Montreal leading 1-0. In the second half, Clark Wood puts it high on the curler before Edwards puts it just wide from long range. Just like the first half, Montreal off to a good start heading into the second half as well, and they were looking for that second goal. And they do. In the 74th minute, it's Caden Clark scoring his second goal for Montreal from Opoku and Piet to make it 2-0 in favor of Montreal. So thank you, Minnesota, in terms of giving us Caden Clark and now scored 2 goals in the last two pairings. And before anyone asks, no, I do not regret Minnesota letting go of Caden Clark. And this is kind of the same thing I say about Mason Toy when he went to Montreal from Minnesota. I just think Caden Clark didn't fit the Eric Ramsey system, and especially the way that Lauren Courtois had put Caden Clark, putting him in that natural number 10 position, which is something that obviously Minnesota didn't do so because that's the spot that Robin Lett basically occupies. Yeah, I think they were just kind of putting him out of position, which is just kind of shows that it doesn't really kind of fit him, and also just fit the Ramsey system, and that can happen again. That I know for some fans it will be easy to react, say, oh, the player moved to another team, they did well, and so the last team I made a mistake. Well, again, partially that could be true, but partially it could also be the fact that they're playing in a new system and have a change of scenery that can always help a player, or the fact that it just doesn't fit the system of the team that they saw him. And I think that's kind of the case for Caden Clark. He's in a much better situation with Montreal compared to what he has in Minnesota. And again, I don't regret of Minnesota letting go of Caden Clark, because even if Clark is still with this team, I don't think he would have been as successful as what he has done right now with Montreal. Reynolds did look for one back, but he missed wide there before Cockerell was in on goal. Almost had a chance to make it 3-0, but Brady says no. He robbed him on a 1v1. Barlow then hits one right to Siwas before Siwas denied Suke from close range. Fire finally woke up. And again, it just feels like it's way too late there. If you're going to wake up when you're down 2-0 and we're heading into stoppage time, yeah, your playoff chances is dwindling, and it's definitely dwindling right now. For the Fire, it seems like they're going to be going to their eighth consecutive season without making the playoffs, the longest playoff drought that any team has had. Silquist then hits one right to see Waz before we have a Poku flash one just wide from long range in the third minute of stoppage time. But yeah, in the end, Montreal they get the 2-0 lead. The shots in this one, 11 shots for the 13 that Chicago has, 4 shots on goal compared to the 3 that Montreal has, 6 shots off target for the 3 that the Fire had, 6 shots that was blocked for the 1 that Montreal has, and possession wise, 49% possession compared to 51% possession that the Fire has in this game. And like I said, Montreal they are above the red line now. Unfortunately, they don't control their own destiny, and depending on what the Union does, the Union would actually have a chance to get themselves above the red line as well. But for Montreal, they're definitely showing that fight. And the good news for Montreal in the next game is that not only they're playing at home again, but they're playing against the worst team in the league. That is the San Jose Earthquake. So there's a chance that they can get another 3 points and really once again be in the hunt. But unfortunately, as I said about Montreal, this is kind of the typical narrative of Montreal. They always get some wins to be at the playoff race at the final day, but then they eventually unable to make it in the final day, and we'll see whether or not if that narrative continue, or maybe if Montreal can sneak it in. And as I said before, it really doesn't take much for some of these teams to get on a good run of form, and now they can rise up in the standings because it feels like every single week the Eastern Conference playoff race, nobody's really running away with this. They've been bunched up for the past couple of weeks, and this is why I've said many times before, it is going to come down to the wire. I think the Eastern Conference race is going to be like what we saw a couple of years in the West. It's going to come down to the final day, and it should be very interesting to see how that's going to play out on the final day as well. With that being said, I am now going to switch boards and look at the last four games to conclude the review, at least part one of the review of match week number 34. So moving on, we got the Red Bulls and Atlanta United, and I gotta say, for Atlanta, they almost stole all 3 points in this one. I mean, this was a Brad Guzan kind of show. It feels like he turned back the clock in this game against the Red Bulls, though it could also be a very typical Red Bulls game where they can't finish their chances. It's been kind of a narrative that's gone on for the last couple of months, but unfortunately, Atlanta couldn't hold on, and I think you can say that they also follow their narrative of giving up late goal as well. But in the first half, Morgan looked like he got the opening goal of the game, but the flag did not agree with him. So the goal was disallowed for offside, and really not much really happened early in this one. The shots were only 1-0 for the Red Bulls early in this game. In the 18th minute, the first shot for Atlanta, CTRA heads it wide before Guzan would deny Morgan from close range, and then he denied Van Zier from close in the 20th minute. TRA then missed wide on the doorstep of goal. Both of these teams were getting some good chances, but who can get the opening goal? Well, the answer is the New York Red Bulls, surprisingly. And what's even more surprising, Dante Vanzeir has got on the score sheet. So things maybe could be a little bit different for the Red Bulls when Dante Vanzeir get on the score sheet, because it's been a long time since he's got on the score sheet. But he scored here from Token to make it 1-0 in favor of the Red Bulls. The drought was clearly over as a result, but unfortunately for Vanzeir, it doesn't mean that he's going to score a couple more goals later in this game as well. Marinchik did look to respond, but he missed wide on the header, and then a penalty was given to Atlanta late in the first half as Cabarro would brought down TRA in the box. So Marinchik had a chance to step up to score his second career goal for Atlanta, and he does. So yeah, that ties the game up at one apiece heading into halftime. And anytime when you can see the goal right on the stroke of halftime, that is absolutely a backbreaker, and one that is going to drive the team that give up the goal absolutely crazy. But we do head to halftime, like I said, tied up at one apiece. In the second half, Guzan would deny Younger from close before he denied Banzier from close. The Red Bulls were on the front foot, but can they solve Guzan, who, again, it feels like this season, with how bad the Red Bulls has finished, they also can make opposition goalkeeper look like a star. And here, Guzan was definitely turning back the clock in this game, making some big save after big save. He then denied Harper in the front post before denying Vanzier again from close range in the 54th minute. Even with the goal, Vanzier looked like he's still snake bit, and again, it feels like the narrative continued. The Red Bulls just cannot finish, even if their life depends on it. Token missed wide from long range before TRE hits one right to Cornell. Harper had a header that goes over, and then a penalty was given to the Red Bulls after VAR deemed that McFarland brought down Manuel in the box. So here comes Manuel, a chance to steps up to take the penalty and maybe kind uh, kind of finally get that snake bin narrative off of him. Guess what he did? He was denied by Guzan. I mean, in some way you're not surprised because Guzan has been an absolute wall in this one, but also, yeah, I'm kind of surprised that they decided to put Elias Manuel in front of goal. I mean, again, I get that you're trying to give your main striker confident back by scoring a goal from the penalty spot, but it can work both ways. I mean, if he scores, then yeah, the confidence is back. But if he doesn't, then the confidence is going to be even more lessened. And we'll talk about it later in this review. There was also a sequence like that later in this game that actually didn't go so well for the striker that has no confidence in front of goal right now. But as I said, that shouldn't be surprised because again, the Red Bulls that just kind of sums up their luck in front of goal lately. And in the second minute of stoppage time, Edwin Mosquera would score from Amador to give Atlanta a 2-1 lead, and what a banger of a goal that is, and that looked like he might have stole all 3 points for Atlanta United. But in the fifth minute of stoppage time, Reyes did look to answer, but he missed wide there. And then in the 7 minute stoppage time, and I definitely did not see this coming. I mean, I mentioned Elias Manuel completely snake bitten. His confidence must be very low. But he got a redemption goal here as he scored from Julian Hall to tie the game up at two apiece. I'll tell you what, every time when the Red Bulls score late, Julian Hall is either involved in the goal scoring or on the assist shot. I swear, he's like a guy that I think they should have him come off the bench more often because he's a guy that will always make impact for this Red Bull side and a guy that I think has a very bright future for this Red Bulls team. But yeah, that ties the game up at two apiece. As I said, it was a redemption goal, but Atlanta has no one to blame them for themselves for conceding that goal, not clearing their lines whatsoever. And when you don't clear your lines, you're always going to get punished for that. Morgan then hits it right to Guzan in the 10th minute of stoppage time. Nealis then is an absolute sitter in the front of the post. It's the full time whistle. So was sounded. So yeah, in the end, it ends in a 2-2 draw in this game, in a game where I don't think either of these teams will be happy with this result. Shots in this one, 21 shots with 11 that Atlanta has, 3 shots on goal for the 10 that the Red Bulls had, 6 shots off target for the 2 that Atlanta has, 5 shots that was blocked for the 3 that the Red Bulls had, and possession wise 60% possession compared to 40% possession that Atlanta has in this game. And the reason why I say that neither of these team is going to be happy with this resort is again the narrative continues. The New York Red Bulls continue to struggle in front of goal, and yes, they might have hit a red hot Brad Guzan in this game, but it feels like this season that has happened often. Where if you're a goalkeeper that's struggling, you might as well play the New York Red Bulls because you're going to have a career game against them with the lack of finish that they've shown. And for Atlanta United, even on a night where they have a chance to steal all 3 points to improve their playoff chances, they don't because they like to give up late goals. That's kind of their narrative, and yeah, now this could come back to haunt them in a big way if they don't make it. That is 2 big points that they drop, especially of how tight the race is in the Eastern Conference. Now, moving on in terms of the next match. So, well, the Eastern Conference race is very tight. The Western Conference race, as I mentioned, it's a little bit anticlimactic, and I think it feels like there probably maybe is not going to be any contact test because, as I mentioned, one of the team got eliminated in the West. But for Austin, they're looking like they're staring down at that too because coming into this game against the Houston Dynamo, a team that they actually have a perfect record against them at Q2 Stadium. They have never lost to the Dynamo at Q2 Stadium in this Copa Tijas matchup, and they desperately need to keep that if they want to keep their slim playoff hopes alive. And no, they didn't do that in this game. In the first half, Zardes would hit one right to Clark. And by the way, it's not a surprise that Austin lost this one because they won the expectancy battle. I mean, it's you talk about narrative. Whenever Austin wins the expectancy number and whenever they have a lot of shots and a lot of chances, you know they're gonna end in the losing end because that's how it goes. The narrative goes for them. Driussi then puts it wide from close range. Austin was on the front foot. They were looking for an early goal. Bakari would puts one over from close range before Stuver had to deny Ponce from close in the 12th minute. Bakari then on the other end puts it wide from close. It was actually a really lively start in this one. The shots were already 5 apiece. 15 minutes in, there was a lot of shots in this game early on. Dorsey would then puts it wide from long range before Driussi would hits it right to Clark in the 41st minute. 2 minutes later, Rainwood hits one wide on the free kick as Austin was pushing late in the first half to try to get the opening goal. Dessler tried to do so, but he hits it right to Clark in the second minute stoppage time. And despite there's been chances for both of these teams, we do head to halftime scoreless between both of these teams. In the second half, Zardes had a header that was clear off the line after Clark missed it from the cross. So yeah, Steve Clark's probably very fortunate that he was not being paid because of that mistake. On the other end, Stuver would deny alley from close, and then Bassi would puts it over from the free kick. Both of these teams once again were getting some good chances, but the question is, who can get themselves the opener? Well, Driussi tried to do so, but he heads it onto the post from close range because that's kind of the luck that Driussi's been getting this season. And then in the 82nd minute, we see oh god, I can't. Can read this writing. Oh, it's Gallagher, the one that hits one right to Clark, and then in the 83rd minute, Houston finally get the opening goal of this game. It's Coco Carrasquilla. He scored for Sevchenko and Bossy to make it 1-0 in favor of the Dynamo. Something tells me that whenever Carrasquilla gets on the score sheet, you know it's going to be a great goal, and it was. I mean, just kind of I wouldn't say it was a full bicycle kick as the league website seems like that they were advertised. I feel like it was kind of like more of an overhead kick, kind of like a half bicycle kick that didn't really have a lot of power, but enough that just goes into the back of the net from close range. And yeah, just like that, Houston have a 1-0 lead. Rubio looked to answer, but he missed wide in the 87th before Clark would deny Obrian from close in the 89th minute. Austin was pressing back late to trying to get the equalizer. Houston was looking to hold on for dear life, trying to get their first win at Q2 Stadium. And they probably wouldn't have held it onto this resort if Rangers didn't miss an absolute sitter from close range. Yeah, again, that's the rule of thumb. When Austin are giving chances and when Austin are winning the expected to see battle, they're not going to get a win. And unsurprisingly, they didn't go get a win in a game that they absolutely need to if they want to keep their playoff hopes up. Alive as the Dynamo get their first win at Q2 Stadium with 1-0 road win. Shots in this one, 15 shots for the 20 that Austin had, 6 shots on goal for the 4 that Houston had, 5 shots off target for the 7 that Austin had. Both teams had 6 shots as block and possession-wise, 53% possession compared to 47% possession that Austin has in this game. And like I said, for Austin, with the way that Minnesota also got a win and Dallas also got the win, Dallas passed Austin into that 10 spot, that one spot that is just outside the playoff spot. But with the way that now they are 7 points back with 4 games to go, and with the way that they still have a lot of tough games left this season, I think it's safe to say they're done. They're done. They're done in terms of their playoff chances, and that these last two games that they have coming into this one. This is why it was so big that they win against Toronto and maybe even get a result against LAFC as well, because now they've if they would have got those result, maybe this loss wouldn't feel as bad as it is. But at the same time, you could also say this loss really just kind of kill any last confidence that this Austin team believe that they can make it to the playoffs. Like you cannot lose to a team that you have never lost and expect to still make a playoff push. And again, just 7 points to make up in the last 4 games. Austin is going to have to put some Hail Mary and really need to go on a crazy run to finish the season. They can make it, because I don't think that is going to be the case, especially with the way that, like I said, they have a really tough schedule to finish the season. And if they can't get wins against these tough teams like they have so far going for this tough schedule, yeah, they're probably not gonna do so for the rest of the season as well. But now moving on in the next match is Dallas and LAFC. So the good news for Dallas is that they did get a win, and they at least keep pace with Minnesota in terms of keeping their playoff hopes alive. Though the bad news, of course, is Minnesota also got a win, so the gap is still 5 points between them. But at least they overtake Austin in that 10th spot now. And in this game, the other good news is they were playing against an LAFC team that looks like they're fully focusing on the U.S. Open Cup, because they kind of put a relatively weak squad. It feels like they just decided to punt the game away, and this is where Dallas really need to capitalize. And the good news for them, they capitalize in this game. Early on, 4 minutes in, Shano would heads it high on the back post before Kamara would puts it over from close range. I thought early on, despite the B team that LAFC seems to put, they were putting some good early chances early in this one. Well, I say good early chances, but it was mostly half chances. Velasco with Dallas' first chance, but he hits it right to Hasal. By the way, Thomas Hasal gets to start in goal for the first time. Something tells me that might be the last time we're gonna see him in front of goal. He was definitely not very good in this game, and there's a reason why he hasn't make any appearance for LAFC this season after this game. But he did deny Fiora, but it actually falls right back to it falls right back to oh god, I don't who did I wrote here? Oh god. Again, I wrote this so fast that sometimes my handwriting is not very well. But yeah, I'll just say it fall right back to one of the Dallas players, but he put but that one is, or actually yeah, it fall right back to Farah. Now that I remember in that play, it fall right back to him. But he only puts this one into Fort Worth, and really after a slow start, Dallas was getting into this game. And they desperately need to get the lead to try to keep their faint playoff hopes alive. And they got exactly that in the 28th minute, as Pedro Musa has scored again for Dallas to make it 1-0 in favor of them. It was a good goal from him from long range, but you got to question the closing down from LAFC. Just no closing down whatsoever. Almost give Musa a license to shoot from long range, and with how good he's been this season in front of goal, especially in the second half of the season, yeah, you can't allow to have that. Now, unfortunately for Musa, he did have to subbed off with a bit of a knock. I'm not sure if it's precautionary because when he came off, it didn't look like he suffered too much of a knock. I think that maybe is a precaution. So yeah, Farrington replaced him there, and it's a good option too because Farrington stepped up in that role very well. And a little spoiler alert, he would get on the score sheet as well later in this game. In the 45th minute, Velasco would puts it wide from long range before Campos just puts it wide from close, and we do head to halftime with Dallas leading 1-0. In the second half, it looked like it was 2-0 in favor of Dallas when Fiera puts it into the back of net. Problem was the goal was disallowed for offside, and I thought Hassel got away with one there. I mean, he did not cover the rebound there; it fell right back to Jesus Ferreira. Again, this is the reason why Thomas Hassel has not started any game for LAFC. I mean, you can blame that he's a little bit rusty, but he's definitely not an MLS caliber goalkeeper, and that this game kind of just showing it with some of the mistakes that he made. In the 54th minute, Kamara would puts it high on the header before LAFC started to kind of bring in their cavalry as Giroud and Bawanga was summoned in. So Steve Chernow will feel like, well, it's still 1-0. Maybe I'll put someone our starter and maybe we can get a result out of this one. Well, no. Instead, in the 60th minute, Dallas would make it 2-0. It's Delgado. He scored from Farrington and Areola to make it 2-0 in favor of Dallas. Just a beautiful build-up there for Dallas. But again, Hassel, he absolutely should have saved that one. It was not a good goal for him to concede. It was hit straight toward him. Maybe he had a late reaction to that, but yeah, that is one that any starting caliber goalkeeper should make that save. And then just 2 minutes later, Farrington would get on the score sheet from Ferreira to make it 3-0 in favor of Dallas. That one I don't think Hassel would have had anything to save it. But yeah, Dallas was well and truly command up to this point. Bawanga did look to answer, but he puts it high, and then he hits one right to Paz in the 74th minute. And then Paz denied Segura from close range. And really, unsurprisingly, LAFC really started to get going, but it was a little bit too late. I mean, now they've down themselves 3-0, and it feels like maybe Dallas kind of put a foot off the gas a little bit, kind of sit back a little bit in this one. Paz then absolutely rob O'Brien from close in the 79th minute. I mean, just a fingertip save to deny O'Brien and give LAFC a goal back. Hassel then denied Ferreira from close, and then Ferreira had a curler that was put into the stands. But in the 86th minute, LAFC does get one back as Atuesta was scored from Campos. It took a wicked deflection, but in the end, it was more of a consolation goal because FC Dallas is able to lock it down late in this one. They win 3-1 in this one, and as I said, the good news is that they took advantage of a win against a relatively weak LAFC side, or a rotated LAFC side, and keep pace with Minnesota. But like I said, Minnesota got a win too, so yeah, that gap is still 5 points, and there's still just 4 games left in the season. The shots in this one: 17 shots with the 15 that LAFC had, 4 shots on goal for the 7 that Dallas had, 5 shots off target for the 8 that LAFC had, 3 shots that was blocked for the 4 that Dallas had, and possession-wise, 54% possession compared to the 46% possession that Dallas has in this game. And for LAFC, I know they of course punted this game away, but there's going to be some concern the fact that even though they punt this game away, this is now I think a 4 game winless run that LAFC has gone in league play, and I know this is kind of similar to what we see in the last 2 years. Usually around this time, this is when LAFC started to to falter a bit, and there's a lot of question of whether or not if they can go deep in the playoffs, and they only kick it into gear in October and go on a deep playoff run. But again, we'll see whether or not that is going to be a case. I mean, once they do get Carlos Vela implemented in this roster, as if you haven't heard, Vela of course signed a new contract with this team. I think he's probably going to be implemented in this team very very soon. But yeah, again, they need to get things going because right now they're actually slipping down in the standings. Like for a while, it looked like they were locked to get that second position, but now teams behind them are catching them up, and you definitely don't want to drop a little bit lower in the standings and maybe even fall out of the top 4 spot because yeah, LAFC this season they've been very good at home, and that's kind of where they have got most of their wins this season. The road form hasn't been that case. They have been a little bit wobbly on the road, and the fact that they could be facing a couple of playoff games on the road, that could be a really true test to see whether or not if they can go deep again. And again, the narrative will be that they'll get things going by the time when we get to October, but we'll see whether or not if that is the case. Now, moving on into the last game on this board is Sporting KC and Minnesota United. So for the first time in the regular season, Minnesota finally broke that curse of them not getting a win at Children Mercy Park. Though I gotta say, they definitely try their best to not get their first win at Children Mercy Park. And in some way, this is one of the rare time where Minnesota decided to go row heave mode throughout the whole game, and they were not being punished because of that. Because anytime when the Loons go row Heath Mo, and yes, I know Adrian Heath is no longer the head coach of this team, but I'm gonna still use that term because that's what I always describe whenever Minnesota just kind of sit back and just kind of hope and pray that they absorb the pressure and don't concede and score a lucky goal on the other end. More times or not, that doesn't work out, but this is one of the time where it actually worked out, even though they try their best to give this game away, and I think Sporting KC is probably very kind to say, yeah, we don't want to worry about MLS league play anymore, or our focus is on U.S. Open Cup finals, so we're just gonna get ourselves eliminated in this game following this loss. Now, in the first half, the first shot of the game did see Agata had a header that was denied by Dane Sinclair. Now, despite the fact that Sporting KC had a U.S. Open Cup final, they didn't really kind of start a B team in this one. It was kind of a mix A/B team. They still have some good players in the starting 11 as well. So they didn't do what LAFC did, which is pretty much put in a B team in this game, and they didn't even put their backup goalkeeper John Postcam in this one as well. Dotson then missed an empty net after Melia did not punch this one away. Yeah, that is one that Hassani Dotson would want to have back, and especially the way that I was seeing from the beginning, Minnesota. It looked like this is a row Heath Mo kind of game. Yeah, you're not gonna get a lot of chances to score in that. It's got to be one that they got to bury. Showery then puts it wide from close before Agata puts it high from long range. Sporting was started getting some chances, and again, Minnesota was doing their typical row Heath mode whenever they play at Children Mercy Park. And more times or not, if not every time, it doesn't go so well, and it feels like a loss. It seems like it's on the docket for this team. Tommy then puts one right to Dane St. Clair before Agata would heads it wide from the corner in the 45th minute. But we do head to halftime scoreless between both of these teams, despite the fact that Minnesota, they absorb a ton of pressure in the first half. And it's a good thing that the weather delay happened, because I didn't think that the weather, I didn't think that if they continue to play in the second half, they would continue this good, continue this defensive the reinforcement that they were under siege a lot in the second half. And as I said, the weather delay really delayed this game until 10:30 p.m. local time. And by the time this game kicks off again, this game ended up overlapping in the later game that we saw as well. Yoboa then puts it wide from close in the 49th minute before Polito would hits the side netting from close in the 54th minute. And just like the majority of the first half, Sporting continued to have most of the possession. Minnesota was still going with their row heave mode, even coming out of the delay, barely crossing the halfway line and on the attack and just sit deep. Rodriguez then puts one over in the back post in the 60th minute before Tommy puts it over on the free kick. And again, despite the fact that SKC was getting some good chances, I think there's probably started some frustration, the fact that they just cannot crack this Minnesota team. That again, they were really going with their bend but don't break kind of philosophy in this one. And I also thought that despite the fact that these free kick hasn't been coming close, as the last two chance came from a free kick, the Loons got to stop committing fouls just outside the box. I mean, they're going to eventually gonna get punished because of that. And knowing this team luck in terms of them giving up a long range goal, I feel like that was going to happen. But instead, in the 65th minute, really just completely against the run of play, something that I definitely did not see coming. Kelvin Yoboa would score from Lud and Capani to make it 1-0 in favor of Minnesota. As I said, that I definitely did not see this one coming. I don't think Minnesota fans saw this one coming, and especially SKC fan definitely did not see this coming. Though I say that, but maybe SKC fans might saw it coming, knowing that we've seen this story before where we have a bunch of chances, but we don't score and we get punished because of that. But yeah, that made it 1-0 in favor of Minnesota. And by the way, that goal by Yeboah, what a goal that was on the curl. You know when a number nine it has a lot of confidence when he's able to tuck it in from that. And right now, Kelvin Yeboah, I mean, he is on a tear right now. This has started becoming one of the best signing that Minnesota has made in recent years. Rodriguez then looked to respond, but he hits the side netting before Polito hits it right to Dane St. Clair. Sporting KC back with all the possession, and the Loons continue to go row heave mode even with the lead. Again, I just kind of had a sense that eventually Minnesota was going to give up a goal because again, how many times we've seen that happen when even when they had the lead, but they just don't hold on to it. Yoboa then hits one right to Melia before Agata puts it wide from close. Russell then hits one right to Dane St. Clair from long range in the 87th minute. And then the inevitable happened. Penalty was given to Sporting KC as Rodriguez was brought down by Tapias in this one. I mean, I knew this was coming with the way that they were defending like that. I knew that the narrative was going to come where they're going to give up a silly penalty or a goal late in this game. But to my biggest surprise, Agata struck the post from the spot. I mean, I will say it's to my biggest surprise. I think the biggest surprise is the fact that Willie Agata was the one that took the penalty. And again, going back to what I said about when Elias Manuel took this penalty for the Red Bulls. I understand that you want to get your number nine that has been going through a long drought and been very snake bitten to get a goal to get his confidence up, but it can work against you if he doesn't score that. And Willie Agata has not been doing well from the penalty spot. In fact, he have only taken one penalty. He's not the designated penalty kick taker, and he missed that first penalty, and now he's over 2 from the spot. And again, I think what he was trying to do, he was trying to blast it to the top right there, but I mean, when you decide to do that, that's a risky he kind of move to do because more time than not, when we see players trying to blast it into upper 90, if you blast it a little bit too much, it's gonna struck the post, and it did here. And honestly, when that happened, I mean, I feel like that is if that is not a moment to sums up this season for Sporting KC, I don't know what is. I mean, this here's a chance for them to get the tie and go, and here's a chance to continue to add the misery of Minnesota conceding late goals to drop valuable points, and they just say, yeah, nah, we're good. We're happy of just getting eliminated from playoff contention, and that was pretty much confirmed in the 4th minute stoppage time when Bongi Lowane puts the icing on the cake and pretty much put the lights out of CMP. He scored from Lud and Trap to make sure Minnesota get their first win at Children's Mercy Park in the regular season and only their second win. If you include the playoff win that they had in the COVID shortened season. And yeah, in the end, Minnesota gets the 2-0 win. The shots in this one heavily favored Sporting KC. 19 shots for the 7 that Minnesota has. 3 shots on goal for the 4 that Sporting KC had. 2 shots off target compared to 8 that Sporting KC had. 3 shots on blocked for the 4 that SKC had. And possession-wise, 65% possession compared to 35% possession that Minnesota has in this game. And again, Sporting KC, as I mentioned, they're officially out of the playoffs. So I'm gonna now have to make a moving forward series about the Quakes and Sporting KC. I wasn't able to do so this week because I had a lot of videos. I'm getting a little bit backlogged when it comes to all these videos that I'm making. So I'll make sure I'll probably do a moving forward series about Sporting KC and the Quakes this week. But yeah, again, this is a game that pretty much just sums up the season for Sporting KC, and they hope that that's not going to happen in the U.S. Open Cup final as well. Because in fact, I would say that this U.S. Open Cup final is going to be interesting because you could say that one narrative is going to have to come to an end. Is LAFC their choking label in the Cup final, losing pretty much all the Cup final except for that one game when Gareth Bale bailed them out in MLS Cup. Is that narrative going to come to an end? And for Sporting KC, I mean, their narrative is that they're able to always win the U.S. Open Cup final. I mean, they've been to I think 4 U.S. Open Cup finals. They won all of them, but this season they still have had games where they look like they're in control, and then they coughed it up late in the game, giving up late goals. So that should be a very interesting U.S. Open Cup final. Something tells me a big narrative is going to come to an end. But yeah, like I said, for Foreign KC, the only way they can salvage the season is winning the cup final, and we'll see whether or not if they can do so on that Wednesday night. But the shots in this one, 19 shots for the 7 that Minnesota has, 3 shots on goal for the 4 that Sporting KC had, 2 shots off target compared to 8 that Sporting KC had, 3 shots that was blocked compared to 4 that Sporting KC had, and possession-wise, 65% possession compared to 35% possession that Minnesota has. By the way, Minnesota also get their 7th road win of the season. That now broke the record that they set last season for the most road win in their franchise history in a single season. And again, I think this season feels a little similar to last season, where this team, I'm happy that they're doing well on the road, but can they please win games at Allianz Field? I mean, can they finally get some wins so that they can at least not only make it to the playoffs, because even though they still have a pretty comfortable lead, a 5 point gap against Dallas, they cannot not just keep losing these game at home and keep using these road game as bailouts to get them into the playoffs, unless that's kind of what they're gonna do. They're probably gonna lose their remaining game at Allianz Field, but somehow win these road games, which I mean that could set up to be a good thing for Minnesota, because that means they head to the playoffs, not getting a guaranteed home game straight away. Have to play that wild card game on the road against the Timbers, a team that they have their numbers in the regular season as well. Just look at what happened in the postseason a couple of years ago. So maybe that could set up perfectly that Minnesota they're happy of not playing at Allianz Field, because they know they're confident of getting wins on the road. But still, I truly think that this is a team that, even if they make it to the playoffs, I don't think they're gonna do too much in this team. As I mentioned, I don't think they're ready yet in terms of competing. I think this is just the beginning of this rebuild, and I do think that if they do make it to the playoffs, which seems like highly they're going to do, it's still considered a successful season. Consider everybody got to remember, this is a rebuilding year for Minnesota, rather than a year that they compete like they did a couple of years ago. So there you have it. That is pretty much it in terms of the review of all of these games. As always, let me know in the comments below, what do you think of all of these games. And yeah, hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you do, make sure you like, smash the subscribe button. I, of course, will do the review of the Lone Sunday game after the game between the Union and DC United has finished. But until then, hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you do, make sure you like, smash the subscribe button. And yeah, I, of course, will see you guys next time.